watching the Forefront Church video podcast. And wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. Good morning, good morning. You guys doing all right today? So glad you guys are with us, and everybody watching online, we're glad that you're here in whatever comfort that you want in your home, even though Tommy's complaining about the air in here. He whines about everything, so it's fine. So give a guy a microphone. Well, we are in week 3 of our series, Rebuild, where we're looking at how to honestly deconstruct our faith, demolish it to the ground, and rebuild it back up the way that God intended. Because as we enter into faith, as we walk into a church building, as we go into a youth group setting, as we walked in when we were younger and Grandma brought us to church and they busted out the flannel graph and they started sticking Jesus up there, we're like, where are the crackers and like snack? And we went through all that. All of the experiences that you had foundationally laid a platform for you and I about what we think about God and faith. And so whether you are brand new with us, whether you've been at this whole thing for a long time, you have some semblance of a foundation of faith. And quite honestly, we build up some things that aren't really that great for us. We think about things because we view God and faith and the Bible through the lens of our own experiences, and we read something and we go, I really like that, I'm going to adopt that. And we live within a culture, and even in this current generation that we're in, where we will read some things and we'll go, I like that, and we'll read other things, we go, that doesn't apply to someone like me. I will follow, quote unquote, my truth, and that's good for somebody else, but I'm not going to agree with that in a very much more postmodern culture. And so we need to look at things differently. We need to look at things and go, maybe there is absolute truth, and here at Forefront Church, we would say that there is, and that there's some things that are what God wants for us, and there's some things that aren't, and what does that look like? How can we love one another? How can we follow Jesus? How can we show grace and show mercy? And how can we read the Bible in such a way that, well, there's going to be moments that it encourages us, and like we talked about a couple weeks ago, every time you open the Bible, not only will it encourage, but it's also going to challenge us, kind of like sandpaper. You may have people in your life that feel like sandpaper people, that you just go, I like them, but there's moments where I don't want to be around them. And you will read the Bible and go, that's awesome, and you'll hit something else, you go, ooh, I don't like that, and it rubs you a little bit wrong, and that's okay. There are moments when I read the Bible too, and I go, I don't know that I necessarily like that, God, and God goes, I don't really care about what you like, I care about what's true for you. I care about what's healthy for you. And so as we started off in week 1, we proclaimed that if we're going to follow God, that grace is our megaphone. That we are going to live life in such a way that we encounter people that they're going to say, man, if I think about grace, I think about you. Now, this was a difficult precept for me to live out fully last week because I was at a week of camp called Camp Kid Jam. You'll see a highlight video next week where I was with a group of 3rd through 6th graders, about 30 of them. And if there's ever a word, a lifestyle that you need to live, man, grace is a difficult one around third through sixth graders. And because if you don't show grace abundantly, you will then be known as defendant number one. Because you're, just stop. Whoa, that was a little too far. And we want to live life in such a way that any circumstance that we have, whether it's in our job, whether it's with our families, that grace is the number one thing. That if you're going to err on the side of love, truth, and grace, my prayers as a church and as a people who follow Jesus, that we will err, because you're not going to be perfect in divvying out all of them appropriately, that we would err on the side of grace. And not only that, as we ended up week 1, leading into week 2, we looked at that we're going to be lifeguards, not life coaches. We're not going to sit on the sidelines and point at other people's lives and go, you don't have it together. You're not okay. Here's what you need to do. Here's how you need to live. And we sit over there on the side at the cabana having drinks, looking at other people's lives going, I follow Jesus, I got my ticket, but what about you? We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to be lifeguards. We're going to jump in the deep end with people. We're going to say, your life is difficult, my life's difficult. I want to be where you're at in the difficulty. Let's do this together. And I want to help you along. I haven't figured it all out. You haven't figured it all out. We're going to be a work in progress, but let's work at it together and help other people out of the darkness of life. Because if you do follow Jesus, then there was a point where God found you and I, where God found us in the wreckage that we were in. And I think we need to remember that and not go through life and feeling so pious and almighty and get on our high horse about things and go, I remember exactly where God found me, and I want to be in the same trenches with people in their life too. And the way that we do that is we went into week 3 and say, you know what? We want to guard our hearts, and guarded hearts can help others. And what we mean by that is not that you just kind of push everybody out and then you keep everybody at bay, that we would say, you know what, I want to follow Jesus so intently that his truth, his love, as I pray, as I read the Bible, that it will be a guard around my heart, so that when I walk into other people's lives and help them, that I'll lead with grace, because grace will be my megaphone, and that I will not just sit and be a life coach, but a lifeguard, and I will jump in their life, even no matter how treacherous it may be, that it's not going to drag me down in the process, that they won't look at me as high and mighty and judgmental, but they'll say, you are loving, you are kind, and man, there is something about your life that is different. And I want to do that because I want to rebuild my life too, because right now it feels like it's in shambles. You see, that's really what the book of Proverbs is. As we've been in this series, as we look through Proverbs, we say, you know what? Proverbs is essentially this kind of advice. This kind of, here is about life. Here are these commands. Here are these things that we should take very seriously. And so I went on the internet, because the internet is where we can find all the things. And I wanted to find some, the Bible describes God as God the Father. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to find some advice from dads to their kids, some things that they, let's just see what some of the top advice is. And almost everything you find is stuff that you just go, really, Dad? Is that a good idea? And so I printed off a few of them here. One of them is, children will quote you correctly only if it's something you wish you hadn't said. I have experienced this too many times to count. My wife just experienced this as she was walking up the stairs with our youngest. I don't even remember what she said, but then our youngest said, and she was like, oh, and immediately caught herself. But they never repeat it when you're like, that person's awesome. They don't go, that person's awesome. They say it when you're like, get out of the way, and your kid's in the back, get out of the way. When you're driving, you're like, yee. Then you realize you do have road rage and you need help. Starting a support group for that now. Another dad said, having a 2-year-old is like having a blender with no lid. That'll preach all day long. Another dad, as his son was asking him how he could save more money, said, the best way to double your money, son, is to fold it and stick it in your pocket. Those of you guys who are riding along with me, those of you who are still trying to figure it out, ask somebody near you. Another dad shared with his kids that, hey, when your children are teenagers, it's important to have a dog so that someone in the house is happy to see you when you get home. Another son was talking with his dad as they were sharing a conversation. My dad admitted that when I was younger, he always threw the ball at my head. And the dad said, well, you learned how to catch real quick. Another dad imparting wisdom to his daughter said, when you start a new job, don't talk a lot. That way they won't know how dumb you really are. Thanks. This is a dad talking to some young man that has shown up at his house. If you drive up to our house, park in the driveway, and honk the horn, you better be delivering a pizza because you won't be taking out my daughters. And that'll preach all day long. I would add to that, if I can hear your car before I can see you face to face on my porch, you better keep driving. You hear the boons, the boons, the boons. Just keep driving around the block, bro. Ain't got no time for that. And we hear this advice from dads, and it's great. It's comical. Also, parents can impart some amazing wisdom to their children, guide them and direct them. And that is, when we look at the Bible, I hear people say, oh, the Bible's boring, or the Bible just isn't relevant to my life. And I just go, I'm not quite sure we're reading the same book. Because not only, if we were to make a movie of all of the Bible, I would say that there's a great portion of it that's pretty much NC-17. Get to Song of Songs, and there's some explicit stuff in there about married couples and what happens there. We're going to leave it there. And there are massacres, there are battles, there are things that we would just look at and we go, I can't believe they made a movie of that. The Bible's just supposed to be neat and tidy. And it's just not the case. The Bible's messy because, well, following Jesus is pretty messy. Living this life is messy. And I love the fact that there's a book like Proverbs where we can gain understanding and gain wisdom and then take that and bring that into day-to-day life. That we can apply that. And if you have a Bible, we're going to look over in Proverbs 27. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible. If you don't have a Bible today, 2 ways you can do that. We say this every week. You could stop by the Get Connected table in the lobby, pick up your new Bible. There's no catch. Just grab one. Bring your new Bible back with you. Write in it. Highlight in it. Or if you're more digitally inclined, you can go to forefrontchurch.info. It's really our central hub. You can find all sorts of stuff there. Like they talked about in the announcement video, like we're collecting stuff for Aid Now, where we're helping out the homeless in our community. You can find out more about that when you go there. Parents always ask me, they're like, and I don't say this to brag, and we have moments where our kids are off the wall. We have really good kids. And people will ask us, like, well, that's because you're the pastor. I go, no, it's because I really try to follow God. I mess up a lot. My wife messes up a lot. We try our best. One of the things that helps me, and you can find it there, is there's this Parent Cue app that every day it guides me in what my kids are learning back there and then gives me daily stuff to be able to encourage that through the week so that I don't feel like I'm fumbling in my faith and as a dad and do that. And there's all these things that you can get there. And one of the things that you can get along in that moment is you could swipe a couple times and there's notes every week. This is like the central place for all that we do so that you, as someone who's a part of this Forefront Church family, can get better direction there. Digital Bible, all that there for you. And these resources are free because we want to make sure that we can give you, but I can't make you use any of them. My hope is that you do. And it's just like this book that God has given us, the Bible, and especially as we dig down in Proverbs 27, there's counsel that if we heed it would be amazing. But you may have encountered someone, show of hands, have you ever encountered someone that they ask for a lot of advice but never take it? Now, if you're sitting next to them, do not nudge them, okay? If you live with them, if you share a bed with them, do not nudge them. You can laugh, but don't nudge. You see, advice and counsel only works if it's put into practice. And what we want to do is rebuild from the ground up and see how that works in your life and mine. And it's very much what the writer of Proverbs is trying to share, almost like sitting down with a father and getting that advice before you head out the door, which one day you should, and it shouldn't be when you're 30. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what the day may bring. Listen, no promises. We are not promised another day, and so what we do with today matters. Let someone else praise you, not your own mouth. An outsider, not your own lips. Basically, don't toot your own horn. Don't go to that barbecue during the summer and start giving your list of accolades and your resume and feeling entitled, because no one really wants to do that. They want to eat a cheeseburger, they want to play some cornhole, and they want to relax. And they don't need all of your, and if you're that type of person, or you know that type of person, gently nudge them and say, hey, that's probably not the best. Because maybe they don't even know that they're doing, but we don't want, if you do things that are great, let somebody else say you're great. You don't need to do that. Jumping down a couple verses, better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. What that's saying is friends can say the hard things. And so embrace that. Take that. That might hurt sometimes. I'll tell you what, if you have a friend and they have never, through counsel and help, you've never felt a sting from that friend, it's time to get a new friend. Because I'll tell you this, friends that love you, friends that care about you will say those things that you need to hear, not because you need to hear them, but because they want to see the you that will be on the other side of that counsel. But if you have an enemy, they're just going to keep on. They're going to make you, oh, you're great, you're awesome, you're whatever, because they're waiting for that moment they can just climb the ladder in relationships and all these things. Jumping down a couple more as we move on in this. In verse 12, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. It'd be like when the hurricane season hits Florida. And everybody, they evacuate the area. They say, everybody get out. Even here, we've had a couple moments over time here in Virginia Beach where they say, you know what? It's time to get out of Dodge. But if you watch the news, there's always that one person that's like sitting out on the lawn in their lawn chair and they're like, whoa, bring it on. And they're just like, you do realize it's time to run, right? And they're like, no, we're not boarding up any windows. We're not doing anything. I'm just going to ride this out. I'm like, cool, you ride that out. I'm gone. But this is what happens in life and spiritually, that people around us will say there's something that needs to happen. You go down this path, and I know it feels okay. I know it feels like you can navigate this, but there is actually a chance that this will go very badly for you. And I want to help steer you back. And see, the prudent will see what's happening. They'll go, you know what? You're right. You know what? That could end badly. You know what? I'm gonna retreat from this because that would be most healthy. But the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Just skipping down a couple more verses. If anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse. I tell you what, we have great neighbors right now. Actually, one of our neighbors is about to move, and we were stalking all the people that were at the open house. We were like giving them, I actually told the girls, like, we need to do scorecards and like put them up every time someone exits the house on whether or not we wanted them. But there was a time where we had a neighbor who was like, you know what, it's 7 a.m., that sounds like a good time to cut the lawn. And I'm like, oh no, that is not okay, because it's Saturday morning, it's time to sleep. And you know what? All these things, so this is just good advice. If you're that person wakes up 7 in the morning, oh, I just want to wake up and get stuff done. Cool, get stuff done inside your own house, all right? Don't go out back and decide to build a 2-story shed at 4 in the morning. You're probably going to get your tires slashed with the love of Jesus. And so, want to keep on moving that. It continues on. Remember, this is the Bible, not me. I didn't write it. A quarrelsome wife is like the dripping of a leaky roof in a rainstorm. Restraining her is like restraining the wind or grasping oil with the hand. I'm not going to add any commentary to that. Just going to leave that be. You know what? Guys, the next time you're in a really big argument, I just want you to quote that and tell me how it goes. Okay? Hashtag don't do that. So we'll see. But this is what Proverbs is. And I love Proverbs 27 as we've been in this journey through Proverbs, because there's some great advice. This is like sitting down with a coach, with a parent, and getting that advice in life that you need, because it's going to better you over the long haul. But I wonder for you and I would pose this question to you: where is your instruction and advice coming from? Who have you invited in to your work site of life? I'm watching my daughters as they grow up, and even now when we were away at camp, I'm watching as they are, now 10 and 8, and they're looking to their peers to answer those questions. I watch our student ministry, and most of them, will post onto Instagram, and now Instagram has the Ask Me a Question. And you see, and adults do this too, you ask these questions looking at placing my worth and value on what other people think of me. What other people say. If I get a bunch of likes, if I have a bunch of followers, if I have all these things, then I have worth, and people are affirming that I have value, that they want to see what's going on in my life, so my life must matter for something, which is not at all the case. Where are you getting your advice from? You see, because there's a passage in this chapter of Proverbs that even if you haven't been around church, you've probably heard it at some point in time. It's been echoed in music, in movies, in culture, and you've maybe even seen it on an inspirational poster at the doctor's office, and it had no reference to the biblical precept, but it lands in verse 17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Where is your advice? Where is your counsel? Where is your direction coming from? See, I meet too many people that they kind of just base it on all the people that will reaffirm what they already believe or commiserate with them about what's wrong, which in turn reaffirms what they believe, and we just surround ourselves with a bunch of yes men and yes women and yes friends, and not the people that really could turn us to what is true. Who have you invited in? You see, our main idea for this week, and I think it's so true, that what we actually need is that godly people need godly people. And I'm not talking about, just show up like, oh, you're going to come to our house. You bring the potato salad. We'll make the main course. We're going to sit around and talk. We're not going to talk about anything important in life. We're just going to, how's the weather? Oh, go Bears, whatever. Go LA Lakers, which is a big deal right now. And, do all this stuff. Yay, LeBron. And we do all this, and we're going to talk about stuff. We're not going to talk about life, because we're not going to open up all the messiness of life. We're just going to have that. But they love Jesus, and I love Jesus, so yay, Team Jesus. No. I'm talking about people that dive down under the surface of your life. Those people that go, cool, that's great. I know what the weather's like. I got the app. I want to dig down. And I want to open up my life to you. That godly people need, not just need godly people so that you and I can share God with people. Now, I'm not saying that you can't lead someone else to find Jesus in your life without other godly people in life. I say it's very, very difficult. That if you don't have a surrounding group of people who love you, who care about you. And see, here's the thing that happens. I meet people who go, yay, I love God. I go to church, I'm going to small group, I'm trying to serve in the community, I brought some stuff to donate for this group, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I hang out with other godly people. And I even try to share my faith with people. It seems like it just lands flat. And I get it. Because there's this thing that happens where, unfortunately, people believe, man, I'm doing great. I'm hanging around great people. I'm sharing great news. I just don't understand what the problem is. The point of conflict, the problem, is that many people will only ever see you as Jesus. And what I mean by that is your life, everything you do, the ins and outs, your relationships, your parenting, your job, how even little things, how kind you are to others, all this stuff, you may be the only Jesus that someone ever sees. The problem is you've made concessions, you've compromised in your life, and I've done this too. And so they see a watered down, a lower version of Jesus, and they go, why would I follow that? Because your life doesn't match up with what, and I have a lot of unchurched friends, non-Christian friends, and they'll say, you know what, I would follow Jesus, but if I look at their life and they're supposed to reflect Jesus, the reflection that I see doesn't match up. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, doesn't it say in your Bible somewhere that if somebody isn't married that they shouldn't live together and be intimate? They should wait and honor God. I go, yeah, it does. Well, then how come so many people who say they love Jesus live together? I don't know. Like, you're right. Well, how come people that say they love Jesus, Jesus was kind, Jesus was loving, Jesus was known to go places that other people didn't go, and how come people that say they love Jesus, the reflection that they have, they're just so mean? Well, how come the Bible says that people who love Jesus, and these are people who aren't like, I will never go to church. They go, why would I, when Christians say that God is joy, but man, they complain all the time. They are constantly sad. They are constantly bitter. They are constantly mad about their finances, mad about life, mad about their relationships, mad about their status in life, and they're posting memes about it. They're angry about it. They're always commenting. It's always said, why would I want to follow a Jesus if his followers don't mirror that? And the pushback that I get from people who say that they follow Jesus, and they go, oh no, but I don't understand. I'm godly and I follow godly people, and it's just not landing right. I go, because you are telling the next generation moving up that God is a watered down, that Jesus is a watered down version of love, joy, peace, and grace, because your life doesn't reflect it. And you and I, when we do that, we're ruining the next generation's understanding of Jesus. And the pushback is, well, if I could just see Jesus move, then I would follow him more closely. And I go, Jesus is already moving. He doesn't have to prove anything to you. He is not in your debt. It is actually reversed. We are in his debt because he showed us grace, mercy, and love when he went to the cross. And he conquered death and gave his life so that you and I could sit here in this moment and ponder in our minds, is it worth it, that sacrifice of his life, so that I would give my life for him? You see, he's been working all along. And you can see it in some people's lives. Their lives are truly anchored, and Jesus is already moving. I love the way that Judah Smith puts this precept. He said, an anchor does its best work when it is never seen. An anchor plunges through the depths of the sea until it settles and wedges into the ocean floor. Meanwhile, back on the surface, in that boat that is your soul, you continue to be buffeted by the elements of life. When you see a boat that's anchored, life still moves. Life is still messy. But what we don't see is the direct anchoring of God. Even when things are crazy, we keep an outlook knowing I'm not going anywhere because I'm held firm by a God who loves me. So we watch as people say, I'm going to reflect Jesus, I am going to move in my life, and it's going to change other people, because even when they see that my life is hard, they just go, you know what? You have joy even. Man, your spouse left you. Why are you joyful? Because God loves me. Man, your kid is awful. You should be in shambles. You go, man, it's breaking my heart, but God loves me. And it changes. That's why I love, even though we may have heard that verse many times, jump down a couple more verses that most people don't talk about. And it shares this: as water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the what? The heart. You see, we want to talk about iron sharpening iron, and it's a great motivational poster. But how are we practicing that in our lives? And I guess the real question is, what are you reflecting? What am I reflecting into other people's lives? Because if grace is going to be our megaphone, and we're going to be lifeguards, not life coaches, and we are going to guard our hearts by being in tune with Jesus, then we want to reflect being godly people who need godly people to share God with people. What are you reflecting? And there's two things that happen in our lives when we understand this. You see, godly people invite others into their demo days. How many of you guys have ever done renovation at your house? Yeah? Okay, so you would get a glimpse into what hell may be like. Yeah, no one ever in the middle of renovation goes, everybody come over, our house is in shambles. It'd be great to have a big banquet here. No, they're like, our house is currently closed to visitors. We will invite you in once everything is done, and then you can come over and see the beauty that is our sweat and blood and labor. And you won't see all that, but you will see how great it is. You see, we do that at home, and we do the very same thing spiritually. I'm not going to invite anybody in when things are hard, when things are difficult, when mom and dad and sisters and brothers and things are going bad, when relationships are awful, when my addiction is going past the realm of what I thought that it would, when things are bad in our family. Who is going to invite them in to rip everything down and put up new shiplap? I don't want to do that. And so what we say is, you know what? I'm not going to invite anybody in. Because I don't want to invite him. This is a scandal that's happening in my life, the things that are going on. Why would I invite him in? And I want to let you know that Jesus doesn't care about the scandal. He cares about the scandalous. The people that matter, your soul that matters. And godly people invite others into their demo days and they say, you know what? Basically, the way we say it around our house, you invite people in and you say, I'm giving you refrigerator rights. If you've ever invited people, or you know the difference between someone who's just kind of visiting, you invite over for one meal, if they walk and go up to the refrigerator, you're going to be like, excuse me? You don't have that kind of level of trust right now. I will get that for you. But there's other friends that you bring over, and you've known them for a long time, and there's a point where you just go figure it out, go find it in the kitchen. I'm not entertaining you. You can find whatever you want. And if you find something scandalous in there that unsettles you, welcome to our world. And just do what you need to do. I'm going to take a nap on the couch. Bye-bye. And you've invited them in, and you let them see the mess of your life. For many of us, we need to invite people into the demo, give them refrigerator rights, and say, you know what? I know this could be embarrassing. I know this could be difficult, but I need you to care for me even in my mess. Because it's when you invite people into the mess that God's message becomes crystal clear in your life. God, thank you for inviting that person in, because if I want to be someone who's godly, I need to invite godly people in so that I can share the message of God. And the only way that can happen is if I'm transparent. If for many of us we've been translucent, what we say is, I got stuff, and we keep everybody at bay. None of the people that really love you and care about you believe you when you say, oh, I just got some stuff. They go, oh no, we're about to break down that door. We're about to see the stuff. I don't want anybody in the skeletons of my life. It is too late for that. And it may be too late for you if you don't invite people in now to dig down and get past the how's the weather conversations and into how is your soul. See, godly people invite others in, even on the demo moments. And godly people know the work is never done. Be fearful not of the person that says, my life's a train wreck, come on in. Be fearful of the person of faith that says, I've got it under control. I am good. Run. Run as fast as you can. Because the people that say, I've got it under control, I'm just like, you have no idea. Life is hard. Life is difficult. There is not a person that you encounter in this room, online, later when you go to lunch, when you go to your job, when you are under your roof. There is not a single person that is living a perfect life. And really godly people know that the work is never done. If you're struggling with sin, you do not need more willpower. You need more Jesus. You and I need to dig down deeper, and that doesn't mean a big old Bible study. What it means is a simple choice. God, I want to trust you, not myself. And I want to encourage you that God transforms your life and mine one area at a time. I meet people that I have conversations with them. They're like, man, I want to give my life to Jesus. I want all of this. I want every part of it. I'm going to surrender to him. I'm going to be baptized. And we use this horse trough here. And people go under. And if they get really like tense and they kick their feet up and everything. And the conversations leading up to that moment, I try to explain as best I can, hey, I love you and so does God. But if you think that you're going to wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be absolutely okay, I want to caution you that that's not going to happen. You will have hope. You will have God's Holy Spirit indwelling in you, helping you walk through it, but it is still going to be difficult. And God is going to begin this renovation process one room at a time. And you're not going to see all of it fall into place right away, and you're going to get discouraged. But take heart, because God knows exactly what he's doing. And he's going to begin to change your life one wallpapered room at a time. See, God knows exactly what he's doing. And God's never late. He is always on time. You see, godly people need godly people so that we can share God with people. And that's why in the fall, we're going to relaunch our small groups. And there's some of you, whether watching online or here, that you just go, I will never jump into a small group. I don't care how many times you tell me, Pastor. I don't care. You can bang that drum as much as you want. I'm a busy person. I got a lot going on. I want to say this as plainly as I can. You can come and be a spectator and you'll watch minimal movement of God in your life. Or you can jump in fully and you can watch what God can do. And I'm just talking to you adults. Teenagers, we have small groups where leaders care about you and love you. And you may think, they're not, my parents aren't cool, whatever, I just want to go and I'm mad at the world. It's fine, you're a teenager, you're supposed to be mad at the world. It's part of your DNA. But I'll tell you, the best thing that ever happened in my life, even when I wasn't sure about God, is having adults in my life that loved me that weren't my parents. And you and I have a choice to make. If I want to be a godly person, am I going to lean into other godly people so that I can have an impact of God's love on people? And that choice is yours. My prayer is that you'll choose Jesus. You'll choose godly people. Would you pray with me? Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.